the big tent of conservatism seemingly getting bigger, but is it gonna expand to the point that it explodes? It looks like it might in some cases. Yeah, having a movement that includes people who are pro-Israel and people who are full-on anti-Semitic, people who are pro-free market and people who are essentially socialists. It is not necessarily a recipe for success, but as we've talked about on this channel in recent weeks, Kevin Roberts, the head of the Heritage Foundation, thinks that big tent is something to conserve to the point that he put his and his organization's reputation on the line to defend Tucker Carlson after Tucker Carlson had a friendly chat with white supremacist and neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes. Welcome to the reality show. I'm Razi Ginsburg, joined by Stuart Margolis and Daniel Kraus. Maybe we should just start with the video of Tucker's thank you video. Could we call it that to Kevin Roberts, showing essentially his appreciation and what he thinks about the person, who put it all on the line for him.
Oh, you're being sarcastic. I was like, I don't have such a video. But yeah, let's watch this.
There's a man called Kevin Roberts who I knew and really liked, took over the Heritage Foundation a couple of years ago, and I thought, and that's the biggest foundation in Washington, and I thought that he could steer it into a positive direction. I think he certainly wanted to. He tried, and in the end, 10 days ago, he was completely destroyed by this fighting within the Republican Party and the conservative movement. Very, very sad, and I think the Heritage Foundation will. And I say this again with sadness because there are smart people there. They have a ton of money. They should be a force for good. But I don't see how they ever will be.
Not after that.
No, not after that.
Absolutely cannibalized him.
Yep. And he allowed it. He was weak.
Maybe we should pause here and then go back to because this was interesting when he said he was completely destroyed by the fighting in the Republican Party and the conservative movement. Well, he was destroyed by people who are still have hope that I know, Stuart, you don't have for the Republican Party to maybe go back to not that it was ever anywhere near perfect, but it was certainly better than it is today. The people who are trying to bring that back didn't really like the fact that that the Heritage Foundation is now okay with Nazis. That was a defense of Tucker that got him destroyed. So yeah, this is how Tucker reacts. Stuart, your initial thoughts?
I mean, I guess it shouldn't be surprising that Tucker doesn't have any particular loyalty to Heritage Foundation or to Kevin Roberts. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on my skepticism whether the conservative tent really can infinitely hold these massive contradictions. I don't see how that works. How you have anti-Semites and neo-Nazis all singing Kumbaya together and moving the movement forward. I don't see how that works.
Daniel.
Yeah, and also Kevin Roberts wasn't really destroyed by the Republican Party. J.D. Vance was behind Tucker. Trump didn't comment on this situation at all. You had some of the Republican lawmakers sort of talking against it. But the biggest push that happened was from the Heritage Foundation itself. The fact that the good people simply left. Maybe some have stayed. Maybe some, asked for Kevin Roberts to. I think there is a video from like one of their meetings, and they asked him to stay the president despite what has happened. So the fact is this. It's super weird because now Heritage Foundation is actually more on the Tucker side than it ever was because all the good people left. All the decent people who did stand up to this have simply left because they couldn't stand the Heritage Foundation going this anti-Semitic route anymore. So when we are talking about Kevin Roberts, he still didn't take out the original video. The original video where he stood behind Tucker is still on his X, and it's not even that far. You scroll a little bit, he doesn't post that much. It's still pretty much on the top of his page. So I think this is just like, if we are talking about the Heritage Foundation, they are behind the Project 2025, which has many really terrible aspects of it. I think Heritage is still going to go the Tucker route and is simply trying to appease. We say a few nice things. I don't know if you'll watch the Kevin Roberts apology video, but it's the same kind of like corporate speak that doesn't actually mean anything, doesn't actually portray any values, is simply just to calm down, the people who have a problem with it so we can move forward. Again, Kevin Roberts continues to be president, and, the better people have left. So, but on that route, I don't understand what is like the Tucker route. If he is simply trying to hold the line even further, that like unless they come out and go Heil Hitler, they won't be accepted by Tucker, or what is his what is his goal?
Is Heil Hitler a cancelable offense now? I mean, I think wasn't there that
Well, that's why I'm saying
Republican?
Tucker wants them to go and do that, and then
Yeah.
they'll be more on his side.
Akira says in the chat, I unironically think this is a great development. I've seen relatively good conservatives struggling to separate from the anti-Semites on the right. Yes, but the thing is, the anti-Semites are more principled in the sense that they're committed to certain principles, bad ones, but they know where they stand and they will stand. They're not compromising. Whereas the people on the side of the good, unfortunately, certainly within politics, tend to be more open to compromise. And yeah, JD Vance, remember the pro-Israel Republicans in the audience. JD Vance is the heir apparent, and that is terrible news for Israel if that actually happens. Again, Trump could change his mind at any point on Israel, but JD Vance doesn't need to change his mind for things to go very bad. Okay, let's listen to the rest.
Well, before we go, I just want to quick mention, because we've seen like a similar exodus of certain kind of Republicans from the Republican Party when Trump took over, right? The anti-Trump Republicans. And there is a funny SNL skit, but it's like a quiz show, Republican or not, where they do like random people and they ask if they're Republicans. And Liz Cheney comes up, like, is she Republican or is she not? And the fact is, somebody that stands up to Trump in the Republican Party is no longer considered Republican. So there is a question, now we have certain people or certain intellectuals, influencers on the conservative side, people like Ben Shapiro, trying to stand up. But the fact is, what will actually happen? Will they be able to take hold? Because again, who is more principled? Is the anti-Semitic right more principled than the pro-Israel or, pro-living with the Jewish people inside of America side of the right? Who is actually more principled? Who is actually more consistent? And that is a problematic question, because if the anti-Semitic people are more principled, which if you consider something like nativism a part of the American conservatism, then yeah, you're going that route. And whoever is more consistent, whoever is more willing to apply their ideas, that person has an advantage. That's why somebody like Nick Fuentes is never going away, because he is simply applying a lot of the principles of the American right, just more consistently. And that's scary.
Right. More Tucker?
Sure. I was trying to fight from that.
He was weak. He decided he wanted his job more than to tell the truth, and that's a moment that I think every man faces inevitably in life. And I understand the fears. I mean, I've certainly been there a lot, and not wanting to lose your job. I get it. I'm not judging, but you have to choose the truth.
Stuart.
I'm curious what Tucker thinks the truth is in this situation. It's not clear to me what he would have had Kevin Roberts do. Just come right out and be openly anti-Semitic? Is that, or anti-Israel? And maybe that's what Tucker's calling for, but that's not at all clear to me. I don't know. Is it clear to you guys what he's actually advocating?
Not really, but it could be that yeah, Kevin Roberts does speak, let's say, more diplomatically. Even the most horrible things he says them way more diplomatically than Tucker would ever talk, or Candace. So maybe that's the issue. But I don't know. Trying to find some sense in what Tucker says is above my pay grade.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, and I mean, you cannot expect honesty from Tucker Carlson, but this is like the way he characterizes it, right? The problem with inviting Nick Fuentes on your show, on Tucker's show, wasn't even, at least for me, it wasn't even necessarily sort of like just the fact of inviting him. I mean, I don't think ARCUK would do it. We are way too. Discriminating to allow something like that. But if you are somebody who is this like, I'm willing to listen to everybody. If you're like a Lex Friedman type, I could like see justification for inviting even somebody like Nick Fuentes. But don't agree with every single thing he says. Tucker Carlson didn't fight Nick Fuentes on like almost any point. He agreed with him completely. I mean, yeah, we should have conversations. You know, I think certain people maybe not, but still engage with the ideas. But he didn't engage with the ideas. He just let him ramble, agreed with some things, disagreed with some others. By the way, Nick Fuentes did mention Ayn Rand during the interview. Somebody pointed that out, and I've seen it. He mentioned it when they were talking about love. He said he agrees with Rand that the purpose of female love should be like man worship. Of course, he has no idea what it actually means. For him, it was women should submit to men, but it was like an interesting thing. That was actually one thing that Tucker disagreed with Nick Fuentes when he mentioned Ayn Rand. But that was like a big problem, right? It's the fact that Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes could say I love Stalin, and Tucker wouldn't like fight him on that.
I think Tucker likes Stalin as well, so they'd probably just agree on that.
Well, I think he actually did something like, well, I'm not sure about that. Let's get to that later, and they never got back to
And
it.
then they never did. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Actually, I'm not sure about that is better than Trump's response to Mamdani saying Israel is committing a genocide, which was to just sit there and just say nothing. But yeah, Tucker, I mean, you pointed this out, Daniel, and it's been pointed out elsewhere as well. Tucker can I'm not going to say ask tough questions, but get in an interviewee's face and keep challenging them, even if it's bad challenging. I mean, remember the Ted Cruz interview where he goes, "You don't know what the population of Iran is, and you're advocating for war against them." So that's the tough questions, Tucker Carlson style. But it still is, that bit of the interview with Ted Cruz is more aggressive than anything Tucker does when he interviews Nazis or dictators of countries that you should ask yourself, why are these dictators happy to go on Tucker Carlson's show in the first place? Then it says the divide within the party is real and intense. Yeah, the whole left-right divide, I mean, objectivists talk about it a lot. It's not valid. I mean, it's a great idea to have a political spectrum where you have clearly on one side collectivism, on one side individualism. You have people who think government should control every aspect of your life, and you have people who think government should be limited to just protecting individual rights. There is no such divide. I mean, both sides are collectivists. They want different, slightly different brands of collectivism. But so there's always been a problem defining what left and right means, but it's always to me seemed there's more of a problem defining what the right means, because the left, there is ideology there. Now, the more mainstream you go with the left, the less they care about that ideology, which is a good thing because it's a terrible ideology. On the right, there isn't, and generally the word conservatism kind of
What are you conserving?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That-
and in some cases, unfortunately, when we see what it is they want to conserve, that's even worse than when you don't know. It- Stuart, when I started following American politics, I remember the 2000 elections, where the Democratic nominee was President Al Gore, the Republican nominee was George W. Bush, and George W. Bush's brand his political brand was compassionate conservatism. And the more I think about that, I mean, you're first of all, you are accepting that there's something wrong with conservatism if you have to add the qualifier, my type is compassionate. And there's a lot wrong with conservatism, but I think that what compassionate is supposed to water down there is not part of what's wrong. It's part of what the left thinks is wrong, which is, conservatives are capitalists and, they don't care about the poor or whatever, however they would put it. And it's kind of a response to what if you're, if you're reasonable, you want the right to be. Um, and yeah, that's always been a thing, and that's how you see so much of if today's Republicans with Trump, if you take them and somehow put them in the 90s or 80s, they are, they would be considered of the left, at least on many, many of the issues.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it tariffs have always been kind of a Bernie Sanders leftist, you know, protectionist ploy. It's very much of the left, and that's Trump's like one consistent policy. Um, then, of course, you've got Trump meddling in virtually every aspect of the economy. Um, that's leftism. That's the planned economy. It's bizarre to me that people don't see it. Even now, when he's, I mean, I'm sure you've seen his meeting with Mamdani. Um, was the boogeyman of the right was calling him a communist, and he's going to be the end of New York City. He's the devil, and Trump's like in love with him. When you see his attitude towards Mamdani and compare it to how he treated Zelensky, for example, who's a genuine fighter for, he may not be a capitalist, but I mean he's fighting for freedom, and the way that Trump treated him versus Mamdani, it's just it's stunning to me that people can still look at Trump and say, oh yeah, he's fighting the left. It's like, no, he is the left, or he would have been, like you said, in the 90s. That was the left, a lot of his policies, but people don't see it. They don't want to see it.
Yeah, Trump has really been wreaking havoc on our content in the last few days, because we had several days in a row where we did episodes on Trump, and not, not because we wanted to, but because one day he has a love fest with Mamdani. Before that, a day or two before that, he has a love fest with MBS, and you know defends him for killing a journalist, and then threatens a journalist with taking their license. Can you imagine that? If by the way, Obama once said something about taking apart News Corp or something in passing, and I don't think he ever did anything about it. It certainly is still around. But that was a big deal, and I mean, this is also a big deal, but not a big enough deal. Where even Fox News, I remember watching them 20, 25 years ago, and none of what Trump is doing or saying, there's any way they would have been okay with back then. It's terrifying how quickly they've become what they've become. Thank you, Tom, for the super chat. Tom says, "I wonder what books fans of Carlson, etc., are reading, assuming they read books at all." Well, they're probably reading the books about, by that guy who Candace interviewed, who wrote two different books about the USS Liberty incident. In both of them, he called it a Holocaust. The USS Liberty Holocaust was the word he used. And yeah, I'm assuming that's one of the books that they're reading. Yeah, I don't know how much they read, but if they do, it's bad stuff. And they listen to Tucker, and he reads so they don't have to. Daniel.
Uh, Yeah, just quickly, something we said that like Trump would be like on the left if it was like in the 90s, but in some cases he'll be like on the far left. I mean, even somebody like Bill Clinton was like a big fan of the North American NAFTA, the North American Freedom of Trade Association, I think it was. Yeah, we had like Jesus Christ, free free trade Democrats. I mean, imagine that. But don't mean to whitewash like Bill Clinton.
Well, the good thing about Clinton was that he was an unprincipled leftist. And so when he lost the midterm in 94, he's like, okay, people want something more free market-ish, and that's what he was for the next 6 years. Um, yeah, we'll see what happens if and when Trump loses the midterms. If it does happen, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say there's gonna be some claim about election fraud or stolen elections or something. But yeah.
That's already being set up, I believe, some like
Oh yeah,
commission for.
of course.
But yeah, I actually wanted to also mention midterms because when it comes to we last week we talked about the AZAPAC, the anti-Zionist. What was it called? What was the full name? Anti-Zionist
Political
Political
action.
Action Committee. Yeah. Um, and that's going to be interesting, like how many people they get, and what is going to be more important for Republicans. Like for example, we saw in New York, right? A Democrat who lost the primary ran again against somebody who he already lost an election to, and got like support from Republicans. There's going to be a question. Many of these like anti-Zionist Republicans or Democrats are going to run for the primary in the midterms. What happens if they lose? Will they still decide to run as independent and screw up the other Republicans? Because to a large extent, this might be coming from Republicans. If you have two Republicans and one Democrat running for an election, you might actually be giving a switch or an advantage to the Democrat. So not only Democrats are already looking forward to a very favorable election, they might even get like an advantage from this like split on the right. So that's going to be like an interesting question.
Is that a likely scenario? I mean, to me, I don't
I
know.
mean, I don't know, right?
If I'm
Like I wouldn't predict that there's gonna be like two Democrats running for like New York mayor, right?
um I mean, I don't know. That makes more sense. I don't know. Is somebody gonna run against Massey or something like that? Because to me, it's clear that you are voting for a person. If I'm in Randy Fine's constituency, I am all out, even though he's a bit too much pro-Trump for me because he is his big issue is the one that he's right on.
Yeah,
Whereas
but here is a question. Right now, or at least until now, both the sort of anti-Zionist and pro-Israeli Republicans would rather vote for a Republican than a Democrat, right? What happens if you have if the anti-Zionists are so hatred have such a hatred of the Jewish people that they would rather like risk a Democrat, winning the election than have a Republican that is pro-Zionist to run, because that is the whole purpose of AZAPAC, right? It's to support both the Democrats and the Republicans who are running on the anti-Zionist ticket.
um Yeah, Alzoot says Randy Fine 2028. I'm with you, although I would probably look into his policies other than Israel before I fully commit to that. Yeah, Stuart, you are the only person here who actually gets a vote. What are we? What do we have coming? In 2028.
I think Gavin Newsom is going to run, and he's a pragmatist. He does have a little bit of charisma, a little bit of the appeal that Mamdani has, not to the same extent. But certainly he's like a camera ready guy. He looks good. He's going to appeal to certain people. I think the real question, of course, is Trump going to try and run again? everyone's like, oh, well, no, of course that's not going to happen. But of course, he keeps teasing it. And, people like Bannon say, oh, yeah, we can find a way to make it happen. So, I
Well,
don't
I
know.
don't know if Daniel, if you want to invite Stuart to your what is becoming an illegal gambling ring, but it was just a pool
Oh
as
yeah.
yeah.
Me, James, and then we have also Razi joining, have a bet on if Trump is going to run for well, specifically the bet right now is if he's gonna join the Republican National Convention as a candidate. So a little bit better odds. James is on no, he will.
Did we lose Daniel? I think somebody is tampering with our bet, but yeah. So until we get Daniel back, I should say that I jumped into this late and I said for me it's one of two things. Either uh or a combination of both. Either he doesn't run, or either he runs or he just doesn't leave. That's another thing. It could be that he just won't leave. Now, how that's gonna play out, I don't know, but we have 3 more years of Trump, you know, changing things to make it easier for him than it was in 2021. And like I'm thinking, you know, if somehow Vance is the candidate and he wins, it could be that he just says, okay, I'm gonna let Trump be president. And if the Democrat wins, it could be that he doesn't leave. So yeah, your thoughts, and we are still live, although we have lost Daniel, but he will come back soon,
Okay.
hopefully.
I mean, I think all of that sounds very plausible. The real X factor to me is Trump's age and his obvious mental deterioration. So, I just don't think it's likely that he's going to be physically up to the job of president in another 3 years. It's not like he takes care of himself, and he's going to be in his early 80s by then. Um, if he were 10 years younger, I think you're right. He just wouldn't leave.
Okay, but wait, let me suggest this. The Democrats knew that Biden was out of it and tried to put one over on us, and then the debate happened, and we all saw it. With Trump, and specifically the type of audience and voters he has, is there anything he can do in a debate? I mean, he still sounds like at times like there's some sort of verbal diarrhea there. Now it's not entirely new. It may be getting much worse, but uh,
Yeah.
I hear people who are pro-Israel, see Islam as a serious problem, and are basically giving excuses for the whole Mamdani thing. So, it takes me back to I can stand on Fifth Avenue with a machine gun and shoot people and they'll still vote for me.
And yeah, he was dead on. He was absolutely right. And you're right that there's definitely his core. I mean, he could really do anything. I mean, there is nothing he can do that would turn off some of these people. But there are still, I think, some people in the Republican machinery that don't want a complete mental incompetent in charge of the country. So I don't know. It'll be interesting, but I think given his age and his decline, by the time we get to 2028, I mean, it may just be so obvious that he's not up to the task that the powers that be will discourage it from happening to the extent they're able. I mean, Trump. It's not like Trump listens to anybody, so I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know if I want to put any money on that bet. I think it's too big a wild card.
So Daniel, by the way, do you want to maybe ask our audience and I think we have more clips to watch. So, but if you want to put a poll, I'm just interested in seeing what people expect to happen.
What do
It's
you
a
want the poll
guess.
to be?
What?
Will Trump?
Run for a third term? Yes or no? Uh, And yeah, once that poll, do you want to show us a clip while you? Oh, the poll is
Oh,
up, so people, you can now vote. Do you think Trump is planning to run for a third term? Whatever the results of the poll, that is what's going to happen. So make sure you vote. All right, let's watch another clip.
well, just quickly, I mean, if we go to poly market, Trump 2028 is at 5%. He's the fourth most likely person right now. JD Vance is at 30%. Gavin Newsom is at 18%. AOC is at 9%. I don't know how AOC is that high. I kind of want to short that because like 10% seems a bit too high. And then Trump at 5%, Marco Rubio at 4%.
AOC makes sense. The reason I don't think it's going to be AOC, at least in 2028, is because the Democrats just have a better oiled political machine, and they know how to not allow people who are less likely to get elected to get nominated. I mean, they did that with Bernie. Bernie was, in some senses the Trump of the Democrats, but they knew how to prevent him from being the nominee. So, but yeah, it's terrifying that she's in the conversation, and it tells you where we are. AOC versus JD Vance. Stuart, dare I ask you?
Yeah, at that point, I'm looking at my international options.
Yeah.
That's just horrifying.
All right, let's watch a clip, which presumably is also going to be horrifying, although I asked Daniel to surprise me, so I don't know what's coming next.
Nazi! Nazi! You should pause before you call people names like that. And I should just say, because righteousness is a goal, self-righteousness is a sin, I don't want to be self-righteous. I've certainly called people things they didn't deserve. I've leveled ad hominem attacks on people. I did against Liz Cheney. I apologize for it. I meant it. But we shouldn't let ourselves go in this area. We should force ourselves to treat other people like human beings with sincere disagreements or insincere disagreements, but still agreements that we can debate. Because once you start calling people Nazis, we really have no choice but to start shooting them. To be Dietrich Bonhoeffer and sort of reach the end of reason or even Christianity. Bonhoeffer decided Christianity's not even, he was a Lutheran pastor. Christianity's not enough. We have to kill the guy. I'm not judging Bonhoeffer, who was a great man in some ways, but that's inevitable once we decide that people are Nazis. So
This has been a clip that's been going around, I think, a few weeks ago. Do you guys know who Dietrich Bonhoeffer is? He was like a relatively big anti-Hitler figure in Nazi Germany. Now, specifically the thing that Tucker Carlson is pointing out is like, if you call somebody a Nazi, then, it's about killing them. Do you know what, Operation what's his name? Bonhoeffer was actually accused of participating in? In Operation Valkyrie, which was in 20th of July, 1944. That's still not a good time to kill Nazis. That's still like crazy. Like, it's an end of free speech if you try to kill Hitler in 1944, less than 1 year before the end of World War II, and he does it himself. He kills himself. Like, what is he even like making the point here? This is not like we call Hitler Nazi in like early 20s when he starts like doing his, pop like speeches and somebody goes and kills it. We are talking about like after he was waging World War II for 5 years. That's why I wanted to play it.
Yeah, there's whose law is it? The law that, if you compare somebody to a Nazi, you've lost the argument, which I always thought was so weak, because you're saying, okay, people misuse and overuse Nazi comparisons, therefore Nazi comparisons are never valid. I mean, we compare, of course, on this show, the Palestinians to the Nazis all the time, but we get specific. Like, we talk about, look at Nazi propaganda before they took power. In the early years in power, it was all about how Germany is, Germany was economically in a very bad situation and people were hungry, and it was blamed on the Jews. The specific tactics, like Kristallnacht, and then like actually demanding that the Jews pay for the damage, which is a thing that is very, very reminiscent of how the war and Israel's response is being treated. Like we're talking about something identical, but we're also talking about a goal that's identical, which is exterminating the Jews. So yeah, as Vered puts in the chat so succinctly, some people are actually Nazis. And by the way, that doesn't mean you go kill them. Like there's a National Socialist Party, I'm sure, in the US, and there's Nazis who are, affiliated with other organizations. I don't see everybody who's against them going around shooting them. Stuart.
Yeah, I mean, he's just wrong. You don't kill people based on their ideology. So identifying someone as a Nazi is not a license to kill them. And certainly, as you said, that has been overused, over-identified, often completely mischaracterizing people. But in reality, there are people that are explicitly Nazis, and then there are people that are essentially Nazis. They may not call themselves Nazis, but if it quacks like a duck, if it walks like it, that expression, it's like there are people that are. It is perfectly valid to compare them to Nazis, and in fact, it would be unjust not to. It would be essentially whitewashing their beliefs to not identify it as such. So yeah, that doesn't give you license to kill them. That's a complete misidentification on his part. But I think it's absolutely valid to identify Nazis as Nazis.
Yeah, and I don't know where even this, like, you cannot call people Nazis even idea is coming from. I don't know, maybe in the US or specifically maybe in like big cities, you like don't have like skinheads or like neo-Nazis or like, white Aryan nation or something. Maybe you just don't have it in America because, like, at least me in Slovakia, we have like actual political parties that at some point have been dismantled because they have like actual like Nazi sympathies. So I don't know if, this just comes from like Tucker's rich background, that he just doesn't meet any Nazis, but there are actual like Nazis.
No, he's palling around with them. I mean, I think you could certainly identify Fuentes as a Nazi, a neo-Nazi. I think he self-identifies as a neo-Nazi. So yeah, he obviously knows them. I think this is an attempt to whitewash them.
Yeah, or I'm not sure if like Nick Fuentes specifically ever like calls himself Nazi. He definitely calls himself a fan of Hitler and a white nationalist. Which again, white nationalist is just like a politically correct way to say racist, or even to some extent like a neo-Nazi. So
yeah.
Tom says in the chat, Tucker soiled the funeral by his comment about people eating hummus. You mean the how am I forgetting names?
Charlie Kirk
funeral. He soiled the funeral by his very presence. I mean, why would you have somebody like that? Any event, like the moment you invite Tucker Carlson to something, the event is soiled. And Tom also says, and I'm also going to disagree with you a little bit about this, Tucker Carlson has become psychotic, the crazy giggle. I mean, look before October 7th and back when he was on Fox News and had to kind of tone it down, he was still saying things. First of all, he was saying things that were like pure Marxism in some senses. Like he was attacking Amazon for exploiting their workers. And I don't know if that was like actually opposition to anything that Amazon does, or is it Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post and the Washington Post says things that Tucker Carlson disagree with? But
did he even own it back then?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But still, again, the language is pure. I remember him doing a show or doing a segment about the metric system is socialism. So the metric system is socialism, but saying don't exploit your workers who signed the contract and agreed to work for what they're working for is not socialism. So yeah, he's always been well, evil. Let's say more so than psychotic.
I mean, I think he may actually have mental health issues, but I think that doesn't excuse his ideological problems. It's, you can have both. You can have evil ideas and have psychological problems. I think he probably has both.
Yeah. I mean, with Candace, I always thought, I remember we did an episode about Candace and then I regretted it. And I said, maybe she is actually like, beyond. Maybe she's Kanye territory where you're like, why would we talk about this
Yeah,
person?
she's just unwell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even then, I think there's a certain amount of volition, right? Like with somebody like Kanye, we know like he is bipolar, right? That's the thing. But uh do you actually take remedies to actually, fight against that? Do you try to take steps towards, doing something about your condition? If you are not, then yeah, maybe when you go crazy or you have those times, you are not fully, sort of in control. But when you're not, you are volitional in control, and you are putting yourselves in a position when go crazy. So even then, like Tucker Carlson, doesn't he have a story about like a demon came and like
Yeah.
scratched his back or something like that? And if after that you don't go like, maybe I should like, go to like a pharmacy or go to like a psychologist and do something, it like that's on you.
Yeah.
Just scratched his back. What were they doing? Like, was it just a random scratch? Anyway, yeah. By the way, he also did a show, and I think we did a show about that, talking about how there are aliens like right now in the U.S. and the government is hiding it, and why is this not the top story everywhere and only on Tucker Carlson show? But I don't know. To me, that at least that part is not necessarily. It could be that the person has gone off the deep end, and it could be that he is so certain that his audience has gone off the deep end, and that his audience will buy anything that he's just, this is working for me. The same thing with Candace. You know, I said Brigitte Macron is a man. I got more views. I started blaming everything on the Jews. I'm getting more views. Why stop? So anyway, that's the end of my defense of Tucker and Candace. Do you want to show us any other clips, Daniel? I'm afraid to ask, but I will
Yeah,
ask.
you can watch this one.
That the last month, I don't think a single person has ever made the case that I'm wrong, that Nick Fuentes is wrong. The Jew hatred stuff is wrong, period. And I said that the white hatred, black hatred, Jew hatred, Malaysian hatred, Bedouin hatred, it's all wrong. I believe that as much as I believe anything. Okay. But the rest of it, his analysis, which is actually smart and in a lot of cases true, no one's even attempted to rebut it. 95% or whatever the number is, if members of Congress take APAC money, how is that good? Shut up, Nazi! So if that's your only defense, you've lost. You've lost. You didn't even enter the game. We're playing different games. I'm trying to tell the truth, convince people that what I think is true is actually true. And you're trying to make me be quiet because you don't like it. You can shoot me or you can shoot everybody, but it doesn't go away because the truth is an immovable object. It just exists and you conform to it or you don't, but it doesn't change because it's nature.
All right. So he does say that the Jew hatred and Malaysian hatred is wrong, and a bunch of other, yeah, there's a lot of Malaysian hatred coming out of Nick Fuentes, I'm sure. But then he goes into every anti-Semitic trope that is popular nowadays and basically backs it. Stuart.
I it's just hilarious to me that, okay, well, so on this one little thing, Fuentes is wrong. Jew hatred. It's like this one little thing is central and is so, to say that, to kind of poo-poo that. It's like, oh, well, yeah, Fuentes has this little Jew hatred problem. But other than that, he's right about everything. It's like, uh, that's not a little thing that can just be brushed aside. Well, it can for Tucker apparently, but not for the rest of us. And the idea that nobody has refuted Nick Fuentes, um, I'm sure. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I can't imagine that nobody has refuted him on most of what he says. I'm sure we've probably done shows refuting some of what he says.
I assume so as well. Sometimes I think, are these people worth it? But the thing is, again, they have audiences of millions, and not every one in those millions is one of those fake Twitter accounts. The most loyal troll in the chat says Tucker is a scholar and a gentleman. Uh, define scholar. As for gentleman, we'll interview the demon and see what his experience was in that in that night that Tucker has told us about. Daniel.
I wonder if that's a joke, just like Oscar Pistorius was a scholarly gentleman. It's a Norm Macdonald joke for people. But I mean, when it comes to Tucker, when it comes to like nobody's refuting like Nick Fuentes. I mean, there's like, when it comes to something, if somebody says like murder is a good thing, do I like have to go out of my way to like to combat that? Do we have like with Nick Fuentes, do we have like meta ethical discussions about like what is good for society? Like his claims are things like, America should be like a white only nation. Do I have to like go out of my way to discuss why that's a bad thing, why that's anti-American, why that's even not wouldn't even be beneficial for America? Like, yeah, I guess we could like discuss all of that, but at some point there are certain ideas you don't even engage with. Like, do I have to like discuss with neo-Nazis about like if like Holocaust was correct or if Holocaust even happened?
Yeah, it only gives legitimacy to the ideas to even debate something so ridiculous.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's a big thing. And even the way he talks about like, AIPAC money, AIPAC is giving like money to everybody. Uh, I mean, again, like, what is your specific problem with it? Do you have a problem with like citizens in America forming political action committees or forming certain organizations to put for like, do you have the same problem with NRA? Like NRA is also probably spending like on every single candidate. Like probably most Republicans and most Democrats are going to be taking, their campaigns are going to be funded to some extent from NRA or different political action committees. This is like the way America works. If you have certain ideas, you form certain groups to advocate for those ideas. Why is specifically APAC, which again is American organization? It's not designated as a foreign agent. It's not taking money from the Israeli government. And if it was, it could still be okay. It would just have to, let the State Department know. It's American, mostly Jewish, but not exclusively Jewish people, wanting to have certain ideas put forward through the Political Action Committee. This is no different than any other organization, any other lobbying group.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Lobbying, companies lobby, individuals lobby, and I think it was PJ O'Rourke who said when buying and selling is controlled by politicians, the first thing to be bought and sold are politicians. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs, but that's what you have when you have a mixed economy where politicians, have more power than they should have. And one of our uh, other regular trolls in the chat says, Daniel, you get paid to defend that. Why would you combat it? Okay, so anybody, this is true about anybody in the world who, whose profession is in the field of ideas, including your buddy Tucker Carlson. I mean, he gets paid more than everybody at ARCUK combined, and you know, nobody ever expressing ideas as a profession is to be believed if the who's paying you line is to be believed. But of course, if you had arguments, you would go to the arguments and not to those types of attacks. The
I
poll
mean,
is
uh,
complete.
yeah, it's a troll, so I'm not sure what he meant. Maybe he meant it like generally, like, we are here to sort of argue against these ideas. But again, there is a focus, and there is where do you spend your time. Am I going to spend time like researching every single? Am I going to, spend time researching why, some of the paper in Tower 7 didn't like completely burn? Or am I going to like research what is the melting point of steel beams so I can like debunk every single like 9/11 conspiracy? Like there is, time and place, or rather there is like, what is actually worth it to spend time on. And generally, these are the dishonest people that like I cannot research enough to like prove them otherwise.
Yeah, and by the way, if you want to make money in the field of ideas, um, objectivism is not what you're going to promote. Stuart, you were in fundraising, and you know better than any of us. Like the billionaires and multimillionaires mostly give to causes that the trolls in the chat would support to kind of because they feel guilty for having succeeded in life and. This is how they get rid of that guilt.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so the final results, will Trump run for a third term? 69% say no, 31% say yes. I very, very much hope you're right. Of course, we still have 3 more years of a second term. Let's see where we are in a few years. Hopefully, somewhere better than where it looks like we're headed. Parting thoughts, and where can people find you, Stuart?
I have a Substack, stuartmargolis.substack.com, also on Facebook. Parting thoughts is I don't understand why people still listen to Tucker Carlson. I find him abhorrent, as I think everyone on this show does, and it is a bad sign that he is still so popular in the culture.
Parting thoughts, and where can people find you, Daniel?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Damn Dan, and I mean, when it comes to Tucker Carlson, I mean, fundamentally, it's people on the right who are, sort of reaping what they sow. Sue.
So,
The fact that, somebody like Trump was able to gain traction, his, his epistemology, the complete emotionalism, the complete doesn't matter what the evidence is, nothing matters, anti-intellectualism, anti-establishment, sort of to the extent of like attacking American institutions. I think this is what brings somebody like Tucker, because again, like Tucker has an audience, right? It's not just that he's crazy, it's people are listening to him because people have been sort of conditioned to accept more and more conspiracies, more and more of this kind of thinking. So, as we, there is a clip from like 2 or 3 years ago about Ben Shapiro, which calls out, and that's when Candace Owens was still working for the Daily Wire. And we exactly called this out like, Ben Shapiro, you are going to really suffer the consequences of what you decided to accept on the right. And now we see it with people like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens. Um, or even what's the name of that young girl that left Daily Wire, who is also seemingly going the sort of Brett Cooper.
Yes.
She's also like slowly going that. I think she was like defending Candace Owens. So
Oh, I haven't paid attention for a while. I saw her on Fox News like a year ago, uh, kind of sort of defending what's his face? Andrew Tate. And I thought, okay, the Big Tent is a difficult place to be, at least from the outside. It looks that way. But yeah, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't respond to the you're getting paid accusations with not enough. So if you want to become a member of the Ayn Rand Center UK, you will not only be supporting our work, you will also be getting access to a bunch of perks, including the longest running Atlas Shrugged book club in the history of the world, I'm pretty sure, which happens on Tuesdays. Daniel, we're about a year into that, right?
I think tomorrow is session 69, if I remember.
Okay, so we are over a year into that. How far are we into the book?
We just started the part 2, and I think we are on the second chapter of part 2.
Okay, that's out of 3. So yeah, it is a very, very long running book club with Shoshana Milgram, one of the world's leading experts on Ayn Rand and her work. So make sure you sign up for that. could do a sales pitch for the conference, but this is a sales pitch that's ongoing. Yeah, tickets are available. Super early bird ends in a week. Make sure you buy your ticket for that as well. The Daily Objective, the reality show, return tomorrow. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Daniel. We'll see you all tomorrow.